Chapter 77, A Curse's Resonance. The training chamber gave off faint traces of incense and iron, residue from curses dissolved before. The burgundy fabric covering the walls looked black near the ceiling, where the lighting didn't quite reach. Geto and Yaga sat cross-legged on the tatami mats, facing each other. Yaga watched Geto for any signs he wasn't ready to move on to this phase of training. Geto's hands were resting on his knees. He was breathing slow. In his head, he repeated the instructions from Yaga. I'm not supposed to see them. I'm not supposed to touch them. I'm not supposed to absorb them. I'm supposed to feel them. Each one of these curses was captured under controlled conditions. We already know their signatures, their emotional origin, curse density, and resonance frequency. Your task is to identify which one is which, using resonance, not your vision or cursed energy, just feeling, Yaga had said. Gojo was standing behind Geto, a large black chest sealed with talismans at his feet. Yaga caught Gojo's eye. Gojo nodded. Yaga rose up. Ready? Geto closed his eyes. Ready. He remained facing the back wall while Yaga unsealed the chest. Gojo was on standby with infinity. The chamber quieted and Geto waited. First, there was nothing. Then he felt a sting. Something cold and thin brushed against his consciousness. It rated pettiness, like a child pushing their playmate over, just because they could. Geto spoke without opening his eyes. This one feels small, full of envy, jealousy. Yaga and Gojo looked at each other. Correct, Yaga told him. This one was born from a student's resentment over test scores. Geto heard some shuffling behind him, then silence again. His eyes remained closed. He reached out and brushed the edges of the curse. This one was slow, heavy, weary. This one's tired. It's been afraid for so long. It stopped trying to be scary. Yaga smiled faintly. That's the one that used to haunt a hospital hallway. Geto listened as the previous curse was being resealed and a new one was brought out. He waited for the telltale silence before he reached out again. He reached out too far, and the next curse flared, resentment flooding him like bile. Geto felt the acidic bite at the back of his throat and started choking. Pull back, Gojo snapped, blanketing infinity between them. The curse hit the barrier and vaporized. Geto was on his hands and knees, crouched over, trying to catch his breath. Yaga appeared in his field of vision, kneeling to check on him. You're not here to feel their pain, only their presence. Identify the feeling, then let it go. Geto sat back on his heels, disappointed in himself. It's the letting go part. Yaga stood up and clasped him on the shoulder. Yup. Not a bad start, though. I think we should call it a day. Yaga was cautious about pushing Geto too fast, too soon. The higher-ups were pressuring him to get Gojo and Geto back in the field, but they had to do this the right way. He pulled some parchment from his pocket to seal the chest containing the curses. Geto was walking slowly across the mats, and Gojo went to meet him. You good? Gojo asked. Geto's eyes were red-rimmed and watery. It could have been worse. I'm okay, Geto answered. He sat at the edge of the mats to slip his shoes back on. He grabbed the hand that Gojo held out, but Gojo pulled him in a little harder than he needed, and they went crashing into each other. Geto found himself wrapped in Gojo's arms, body smarting a little from the impact. Before he remembered that Yaga was still in the room with them, he pushed himself away. Gojo saw his cheeks flush and winked at him. He grinned as Geto turned his face away. Satoru, Geto muttered. Yaga carried the chest to the chamber doors. Glad to see the morale is high, but next time, maybe save the flirting for after I dismiss my class. Gojo and Geto followed. Gojo, smirking and strutting, hands shoved in his pockets. Geto, pink-cheeked and eyes on the ground. At least Gojo had the decency to wait until they were outside, hidden by his veil, before he grabbed Geto to kiss him hard, fingers loose around his neck. thumbs brushing against Geto's chin. Only Geto would try to pull away while also thinking, "Don't stop.